Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to our weekly updates of the 2020 electoral map according to my election model. This week will be the last episode that is unscripted. Not much has changed since last week, and it seems that Donald Trump's approval ratings are stabilizing around the low 45 to mid 45% range. With some variance, about 5%, depending on who you ask and which pollster you use. Since I'm using all pollsters that do likely and registered voter, as well as Gallup, because Gallup has a very good methodology, even if they use all adults. I feel it's a good enough poll to use them. I'm still debating whether or not to include NBC Wall Street Journal, but I'll let you guys know if I make that decision, or more accurately, when I make that decision. Looking at the map, a few interesting states. I'll go back. Turning these numbers into ratings, with tilt being anything within 5%, between 5 and 10% being lean, between 15 and 20 being likely, or not 15 and 20, sorry, 15 and 10%, between 10 and 15% being likely, and solid being anything greater than 15%. A few interesting battlegrounds come up when you look at the map like this. For example, Virginia, and actually I should be using a different color for that, but whatever. Nevada, Virginia, Florida, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Those are the obvious battlegrounds. New Hampshire and Maine at large. Maine at large is kind of a new one. I would argue Minnesota is a bit of a new one. Some states that we wouldn't really categorize as lean, but I guess now we have to, would be Texas and Georgia. You know, in the past, you could pretty much count on those states going Republican, or at least since the mid-90s. You could count on that being the result. But an interesting state is Delaware. Why can I not zoom? Oh, that's why I don't have it selected to move. Yeah, Delaware is the interesting state right now because I have it classified as a lean. It's only just within that 10%. It's only just within that margin of that 10% margin that I require for a lean, but it is interesting that it's becoming competitive. Now, obviously, if, say, Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee, I wholeheartedly expect that to not be competitive in the slightest. However, it does have an interesting position, whereas if, say, Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee, I would expect it to get slightly more competitive. Obviously, we'll see what happens when polls come out. And reality is that this is going to be a competitive election no matter what anyone says. Donald Trump should be considered the favorite to win re-election by a narrow margin in the Electoral College. And in the popular vote, I would consider it a dead heat, though we'll see when we get more accurate polling and when we start seeing what happens after the nominations. Because after the nominations, the coalitions are going to more or less coalesce. meaning that people who are on the fence about Trump but are leaning Republican, regardless of who the nominee is on the Democrats, but are stating they're unsure of who they're going to vote for, they'll fall in line. And of course, Democrats who aren't 100% behind, say, other Democratic candidates, they'll come around and offer their support for the eventual Democratic nominee. This is kind of a case of what happened in Arizona between Martha McSally and Kyrsten Sinema in 2018, or really any race where you had one candidate who was the clear front runner and then an opponent whose support was scattered between multiple primary challengers. I'd make the argument that Missouri was kind of like that between, it was Claire McCaskill and eventually Josh Hawley, though there were a few other potential nominees for the Republicans. New York is the only one that I don't 100% trust my model on. I am absolutely dead certain that this is going to be a Democratic state. I have it as solid in my personal forecast. You can check that episode last week, which was actually recorded in April, even though I consider it the start of May. It happens. It's just a thing. Anyway, Wednesday and Friday, we're going to get back to the normal schedule. Wednesdays being looking at how to better forecast elections for those of you who want to get into election forecasting here on YouTube, or who just want to try and double check my methods and provide a counter or a not a consensus, what is the concurrence. That's the word I was looking for. In addition, I want to provide that series because I think it will better help all election forecasters here on YouTube, and myself included, because it allows me to dig deeper into my methods and better give a post-mortem. As for Fridays, we're going to continue our look through American history and the politics that have existed, and we're going to be talking about the first realignment, which is traditionally stated as the election of 1824, but I think realignments take 1 or 2 cycles, maybe 1 to 3 cycles to fully occur, because the issues have to change, the coalitions have to change, the parties often change. So I feel that that's the most important factor to get correct, is what happened during the change and what was the primary cause of that change. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take it easy. Bye.